right, so boys and girls, we are in our fractions unit, and right now we're really focusing on ways to compare fractions. And I kind of want to give a brief overview of all the ways that we've learned so far on how to compare fractions. First, we learned the rule that if the numerators are the same, we can compare them by looking at the denominator. Well, if the numerators are the same, the smaller denominator is going to be greater because the pieces are bigger. Our second rule that we talked about, and I think this is, in my opinion, the easiest one, if the denominators are the same, we're just looking at the numerators. Whichever has the more eighths is the bigger fraction. So 6/8 is bigger than only having 3 of your 8 pieces. Okay, so those are the first two that we really learned, and we learned those a few weeks ago. And fraction strips, you should be familiar with fraction strips from even last year. Comparing thirds and sixths, we would use thirds right here and sixths right next to it. And we can compare doing that. Fraction strips have been around for a while, and they're really great. However, you don't always have fraction strips, and they're not always the most accurate way of drawing and depicting fractions. They're helpful, but not always the most efficient way. We have also got number lines. We practiced number lines about a week ago or so. And number lines, as long as you have the same size holes, same with the fractions, you can pinpoint on a number line where the fraction would be. So I compared 2/4 and 3/8. Here I put my fourths number line, and here I put my eighths number line, and I was able to compare those two fractions using a number line. Now, we've done 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think number 5 is the most tricky. That's the one that we're on right now, and it can be really daunting, and I know a lot of us are struggling, and we're saying, what are we even doing here? So I want to really break it down and explain to you guys that all of this is just one way that we can compare fractions, okay? We have all these different ways, and I'm just teaching you a different way to do it, because some of these work some of the time, but not always. I know that's kind of a weird way of putting it, but each of these are good for different fractions that you're comparing. And sometimes you really need to do number 5, which is making the denominators the same. Sometimes the fractions are just so different, and they're really hard to do fraction strips, too tough to do a number line. They don't have the same numerators and denominators. So sometimes these are the best options to do. Now, to make the denominators the same, there are 3 different strategies, and I'll go into this more in the next video. But the first strategy is when you're comparing 2 denominators, use the bigger denominator and make the other fraction the same denominator as the bigger one. I know that's really weird to say, but I'll show you an example in the next video. The second one is to multiply the denominators, and the third one is to find a common multiple for the denominators. All right. Again, I will go more into detail about these 3 strategies. And these 3 strategies are what we are currently focusing on. We worked on it a bit on Thursday, a bit on Friday, and I'm gonna have us work on it a bit more on today, Monday, and tomorrow, Tuesday. Okay, so we're gonna go through those 3. And then the last one, we will be doing this later, but using benchmark fractions. So just as an overview, there are 6 different ways to compare fractions. These are all ways that I've been showing you, and that hopefully once you know all 6 ways to compare fractions, whatever fractions you get, you'll be able to know which one is bigger, because you'll be able to use one of these strategies to help you figure it out. And sometimes one strategy is better than another depending on the fractions that you're using. All right. Okay, so this is just the quick overview. My next video, I'm going to show you the 3 ways to make the denominators the same. So make sure you stay tuned to that video, and make sure that you have notes ready so that you can take notes and work with me on those, okay?